Hello, I'm Scary Brew.
And I am Scary Sis.
And we are the Scary Sibs.
Hello, mortals, and welcome to Scary Sibs.
Oftentimes, when a film is successful, it's followed up with a sequel. The purpose of subsequent installments can be to expand on concepts introduced in the original, to continue the story of the original, or simply to just make money. Either way, filmgoers are always hopeful that if a sequel is made, it will be better than, or at least on par with, the original film.
While many fail in this regard, especially in horror, there are a rare few sequels that do actually to stand against their predecessors. With that in mind, we've gathered 5 horror films whose sequels are often said to be better, and we'll go head to head to see which we think is the better film amongst them.
Although, I think we know full and well that sequels rarely ever top the original, I imagine the originals will win just about every time.
Don't be so brainless, brother. There are many a sequel that surpass their original films. Many of them in this very lineup.
You sound pretty confident there, sister. Want to make this interesting?
What did you have in mind?
Well, remember when we journeyed into hell to rescue our insufferable cousin?
Ugh, don't remember me.
Yes, well, while we were down there, I picked up this demon skull that I thought was just a regular demon skull, but after studying it a bit more, it appears to be some kind of magical artifact that may be able to transport us to heaven. And since Happy Cuz is now rotting in hell where she belongs, there's a position open up there. The only problem is, this thing, from my understanding, only has a single charge in it, enough to only get one of us up there.
Ah, I see what you're getting at.
Yes, whoever
We both touch it at the same time, and then we both get halfway to heaven. 2 souls floating in the sky.
Moron, no. Whichever one of us ends up being right gets to use the artifact. If we like more original films, I win, and if we like more sequels, then you win, I guess.
Oh, right, I knew that. Sounds like a good idea. All right, with the rules and the stakes set, let's get into this and see if these praised horror sequels truly are better than their original films.
Let us start by comparing the sci-fi classic Alien versus its sequel, Aliens. We'll start with the original Alien, which follows the crew of the Nostromo, a commercial ship whose crew was awakened from cryosleep to investigate a mysterious distress beacon on a remote planet. The source of the beacon turns out to be a crashed alien ship containing strange eggs, one of which hatches and the creature within latches onto a crew member. Later, a vicious creature bursts out of the crewman's chest and begins hunting the crew down one by one and is seemingly unstoppable. This movie showed the world just how creepy space can be, especially when you're trapped in it with an invincible predator. This movie is a masterclass of horror, expertly juggling atmosphere, tension, sound design, and of course, one of the most terrifying monster designs ever put to film. It also gave us an instantly iconic protagonist in Ellen Ripley, who would go on to be one of the most well-known final girls in horror history.
And the sequel, Aliens, we return to the world of Alien when Ripley is saved and awakens with some pretty understandable PTSD and a lot of questions. She returns to the company that sent her and her crew the first film, only to be soon asked if she would accompany a group of soldiers to a compound where some colonists have been left stranded on that planet. Ripley agrees to go and is in for a world of shock when her worst nightmares seem to be coming true. The colony is overrun with these vicious aliens, and the people Ripley thought she could trust start to show their true colors. This film is certainly very entertaining and action-packed. There were not many dull moments, and I really enjoyed the plot, characters, etc. There were a few bad apple actors, but most of the acting was good. I do think some of the characters made some poor and unrealistic choices, but it is horror, so, you know.
Now, while Aliens did an admirable job of expanding the lore and amping up the action, it also expanded the lore and amped up the action. I feel like this premise works best when you know very little about the creatures, making them more mysterious and terrifying. Also, the creeping tension of being stalked by a single monster is more satisfying than watching a bunch of tough-as-nail Marines blowing away hundreds of them. You can imagine our verdict here. While Aliens is a very good movie, we have to give the win to the original Alien. Alien was just a lightning-in-a-bottle film that perfectly blended sci-fi and horror, and presented us with a story dripping with atmosphere and unease. Give me a slow-burn horror over an action monster movie any day. Next, let's take a look at a slasher classic, Friday the 13th, and we'll compare it with the sequel that gave us Jason as we know him today, Friday the 13th Part 3. Starting with the original, this film centers on Camp Crystal Lake, where a young Jason tragically drowned several years ago. Now, the camp is set to reopen and the new counselors head to the lake to prepare, but they soon discover they are not alone and their visitor really doesn't want the camp to reopen. For the beginning of such a famous franchise, this movie is quite the letdown. It doesn't do much to distinguish itself from the myriad of other campsite slasher films that were popular at the time, and really isn't much fun to watch. The kills are standard, the characters are boring, and there's a complete lack of tension throughout the movie since the characters are so oblivious that they don't even know there's a killer until they're picked off. If the characters aren't scared, then neither am I. Plus, when the killer, who actually isn't Jason in this film, is revealed, it's not much of a twist because it's someone we were just introduced to like 5 minutes ago. This first outing at Camp Crystal Lake was dull and poorly written, and I can only hope the series gets better as it goes.
And now for Friday Part 3. Chris and her friends travel to Camp Crystal Lake, where Chris grew up and was previously attacked by an unknown man in the woods. Her friends are all obnoxious and annoying and fairly forgettable. They are the types of characters you'd expect to be in this movie. A grown-up Jason is now living in the barn on Chris's family's land and is slowly but surely picking off each of Chris's friends in increasingly gruesome ways. I do like that this movie has at least some gore and kills, but it lacks in suspense and plot. There are some random scenes thrown in with a biker gang, and honestly, they, along with many of Chris's friends, are really only there as some red shirts to kill off. This movie is certainly not winning any awards in basically any category, but especially not for character development. While neither of these movies got the highest marks in the world from us, Friday the 13th Part 3 was at least an improvement upon the original. The first movie is such a letdown when you are expecting something iconic and memorable, and you find out that it isn't even Jason doing the unremarkable killings. The third installment gave us hope that the franchise is moving in the right direction and certainly beats the original.
Next, we'll look at the newest iconic killer doll movie, Annabelle, and its follow-up, Annabelle Creation. Beginning with the original, this prequel to the Conjuring films introduces us to the backstory of the cursed doll, Annabelle. We follow a young couple, John and Mia, as the doll comes into their life when John buys it for Mia as a present. Not long after, the couple are attacked by members of a satanic cult, one of whom has a strange fascination with Annabelle. Ever since this event, very strange and disturbing things have been happening in the house, and it's soon revealed that the cultists bound a malevolent entity to the doll, one who threatens to tear the family apart. Honestly, this movie is a bit on the average side, and is one of my least rewatched Conjuring movies. There are a few good scares here, the elevator scene being a particular standout, but this movie has none of the Conjuring film's other strengths. The characters aren't particularly memorable, the story isn't that great, and the ending is both anticlimactic and frustrating as a character who didn't deserve it has to make a terrible sacrifice. Definitely on the weaker end of the franchise.
And now for the prequel to the Annabelle movie, Annabelle Creation. This movie follows the Mullins family following their tragedy of losing their daughter at a young age. The couple invites girls to come to stay at their home, but things start to take a dark turn when one girl goes into a locked room and unleashes something that has been locked away, and for a good reason. This movie is scary, way scarier than the original. Annabelle is creepy, yes, but the acting in this movie is so good that the characters really sell their story. Now, there are some plot holes here, like why would you keep this doll in your house? And why would you not take more precautions so that the girls do not enter that room? But overall, this is a scary and well-made film that gives us a good backstory and fits nicely into the Conjuring universe. Annabelle is a good movie, but there isn't anything incredibly memorable about it. I had seen it before, but could hardly remember anything about it, as the characters and plot are just incredibly average. Annabelle Creation sets up so much better of an ambiance and is much more memorable and scary. They also had an incredibly creative solution to tying it back to the original film at the end of the movie. Annabelle herself is a terrifying addition to the Conjuring universe, but her origin story is a lot better fleshed out here than in her self-titled debut movie. Well, would you look at that, brother? Sequels are currently winning. From the looks of it, I will be the one ascending to heaven, while you'll be stuck down here alone in this dreary crypt that leaks when it rains and is in a cemetery that for some reason is right next to the zoo.
Don't get your wisps in a whirl, sister. Your wins were mere flukes. We still have 2 movies left, and in the grand scheme of things, the originals always beat the sequels.
Wisps? In a whirl? What?
I said what I said. Don't at me.
I just don't...
You're adding! Stop it! Next, we'll look at Sam Raimi's horror classic from the 80s, Evil Dead, versus its sequel, Evil Dead 2. The original classic follows a group of friends traveling to a remote cabin in the woods for a getaway. While there, they find that the cabin's previous resident unearthed what he believed to be the Book of the Dead. When the friends play back a recording he made of the book, it unleashes a horde of vile demons that slowly possess and kill the friends. Now, the few survivors left must find a way to stop this evil before they're all taken. Unlike its successors, which stepped into camp territory, this first movie is straight horror. The atmosphere is eerie, the practical effects were amazing at the time, and the gore, while fake-looking, is intense and sometimes hard to watch. This movie is a horrifying assault on the senses, in a good way, of course. The only downside is that the characters are a tad forgettable. Even Ash, who would later become a horror icon, doesn't have his wisecracking personality he'd later adopt. Still, this movie was a landmark for a reason. It's disturbing, gross, and I love it.
In Evil Dead 2, Ash returns, or goes for the first time in a new universe? It is unclear. To a cabin Not the same one from the original, but with the same book and the same evil. Already this sounds confusing, right? Yes, I agree. Anyways, almost immediately, the evil unfolds and Ash and some other minor flat characters are fighting for their lives against demonic forces in the forest. This movie took the campy and corny effects from the original film and multiplied them so many times that it is not even kind of scary anymore. It is just humorous, and that is even a stretch. It was filled with overly gruesome and outlandish kills and scenes. There was a lot of obviously over-the-top effects that could only be linked to the fact that people loved that so much in the original film that when they made the second, they tried to do it again, but they did it too many times. Yes, the campy first Evil Dead is loved, but it was at least trying to be scary. There's no way that this one was.
Well, for me personally, Evil Dead 2 is a lot of fun and gave the series its comedic tone going forward. We simply cannot overlook the achievements of the original film. It managed to be scary and memorable on a fairly small budget, and while the practical effects aren't realistic, they're still impressive and loaded the film with shocking gore. So much so, it gave the movie an NC-17 rating, if you can believe that. I have fun with the latter, campier installments, but the original movie was an icon of horror that we still find ourselves revisiting quite often, especially when it nets another point for the originals. Next, let's look at the paranormal horror film Ouija versus its sequel, Ouija Origin of Evil. The first movie follows a young woman named Lane, whose best friend Debbie mysteriously commits suicide one night. Determined to speak with her again, Lane uses a Ouija board she found in her friend's attic, and at first seems to make contact. However, she soon learns that she's not talking with Debbie, but with something evil that may have killed her, and now wants to kill Lane and her friends as well. Much like Annabelle, this movie isn't bad, it's just average. The scares are okay, the acting is okay, everything is just okay. Sometimes it's actually worse being forgettable than terrible, because at least you remember the bad horror movies. I don't remember any of Lane's friends' names. They're all literally just stock extras there to get killed. Also, the twist of what's really going on did nothing for me as I predicted it a mile away. A bland movie that I hope could be improved on with a follow-up.
And next up is the prequel to Ouija Origin of Evil. This movie follows the Xander family, which consists of a mother who is a fraudulent medium and her two daughters, Doris and Lena, who help their mother with her ex. One day, they decided to add a Ouija board to the mix, and the result does not bode well for all who are involved, especially the youngest daughter, Doris, who ends up getting possessed. This movie is made from the mind of Mike Flanagan, and his touch is written all over as the scares are plentiful and well done. The acting is good, the characters are well developed and likable, and the plot is unique and fleshed out well. There are a few issues near the end when this movie seems to want a happy ending, but then it realizes that it cannot completely do that since it is a prequel to another movie that a happy ending in this film would not make sense for. This was one of our closest calls. Both of these movies were good, but Origin of Evil was scarier and a more entertaining watch. The touch of Mike Flanagan and the higher budget showed through and pushed this movie over the edge. The original Ouija was scary, but it had its boring parts. Origin of Evil was entertaining throughout the entirety. I almost wish that they had made Origin of Evil first, because I feel like the development and the events in this movie deserved a different ending than the one that we were kind of forced to have due to Ouija. Well, as it would appear, out of our lineup of movies, we prefer the sequels over the original films. as this batch of sequels both improved on the premise of the original and expanded the universe in interesting and creative ways. But more to the point, I win!
I'm not giving it to you. I found the artifact, so get
bent is what you can get. See ya after the rapture, sucker. Ah, finally. Now this is the life, or, well, the afterlife.
Who enters my kingdom uninvited?
Hi, God. It is I, Scary Sis, ready to take my rightful place in heaven. Now, which of these marble bungalow things am I in? Sis could go for a hot tub break.
Whoa. Where do you think you're going? You think you can just show up here when you haven't earned it?
I mean, I won the contest and got to use the artifact.
That was invented by demons to infiltrate heaven. Sorry, but all souls must earn their way into heaven, and, I mean, come on, you and your brother kinda suck, so,
But sir!
Do not but the Lord! My word is final! Now be gone, churl!
No, wait, don't sit me back down! Him.
So, how did it go?
Well, I'm back down here with you, so how do you think of it?
There, sister. You still won the contest, so as a consolation prize, I shall go out and buy you a single piece of candy.
Gee, thanks. I can't wait. Well, that does it for this edition of Horror Film Face Off. Did you agree or disagree with our choices? Please let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to please like and subscribe.
Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Until then, I am Scary Bro.
And I am Scary Sis, and we are
The Scary Sibs.